So we just got this 2021 Dodge Challenger Drag Pak Edition car in. Man, this thing has to be the most serious factory-built dragster ever. So the official NHRA rating on this thing is 650 horsepower, but this thing's probably realistically up around, I don't know, 1,300 horsepower. So for 2021, Dodge announced that they were going to build this turnkey race car, and the idea was you could just buy this thing, take it to the track, and go race in the sportsman class. Let's have a look at the cockpit on this thing. I mean, everything is FIA, SFI certified. It's a real race car in here. So you climb in here, you got to climb over the NHRA certified roll cage. Just everything turnkey. I mean, until you build a race car, you don't realize how many things you've got to add. And for it all to come from the factory, you know, there's something to be said for just buying a turnkey race car. Obviously, you've got your race seats. Again, everything is certified, ready to go to the racetrack. Right off the bat here, my position is almost perfect. So right away, you look at the dash. It's pretty similar dash to the Challenger, but they definitely made some changes to the cluster. Obviously, this thing being a track-only car. You know, these cars have no VIN. They're serial numbered. They built 50 of these things, so this car is number 31. But yeah, you can see on the dash here, all you get is your RPM, your brake pressure, and your oil pressure. Transmission in this car is a 3-speed TH400. They say the interior is stripped down for weight, but this is probably the comfiest factory race car I've been in. You know, you still got a spot here to put your sunglasses, so in my eyes, it's not all that stripped down. And then you've got your, what looks like a navigation screen here, but it's actually a Holley EFI performance gauge here, so you're gonna get a whole ton of performance numbers up on the screen here. Nicely out of the way here, you've got all your switches. You know, you've got your starter and your ignition, your fuel pump, all that good stuff right up here. And it actually comes with a sheet that shows your starting procedure with a diagram here. I don't think I've ever sat in a car with a parachute. I would love to pull one of these things at the end of the drag strip. The one subtle thing that you notice when you're sitting in here is that there's no mirrors. Obviously the mirror delete on both sides, no rear view mirror. You're in a drag car, you don't need to be looking in the rear view mirror. So going to the wheels on this car, 15 inches in the front, 17-inch wheels in the back, obviously with the Mickey Thompson big drag slicks on it. But this car, you could either get the Bogart or the Weld wheels. The Weld wheels were a $7,000 option with bead locks on it. You know, the idea being that you're not gonna slip the tire on the wheel when you launch these things. So while we're talking about options, the direct connection full color package, that's $6,000 for this option. And then the Racetech, the full head restraint seat, that's another $5,500. This car is pretty much fully optioned out. Things really start to look serious when you get to the back of the car. You've got your big 10-foot wide parachute and a wheelie bar. There aren't many cars that come from the factory with a wheelie bar and a parachute installed. Look in the trunk here. You've got your tiny little fuel cell. You know, if you're used to road racing, you've got a big fuel cell, but in these drag cars, this is only a 3-gallon little fuel cell. You've got your battery back here strapped down all nice, and then you've got your brushless fuel pump there. And then comes just with the new foam that you'd stick on the roll cage before you go to the drag strip for the first time. So yeah, pretty neat here. You can turn the battery on and off from the outside of the car. So you pop the hood and the first thing that jumps out at you is this massive twin screw 3-liter supercharger sitting on top of the V8, forged internals in the engine here. You know, and then you start to really notice some other really race car specific stuff. You look at the top of the shock towers here, and you see these are 2-way adjustable Bilsteins with 10 different settings. So you can really tune on this car quite easily in between passes. So up front here, they built a specific Mopar K member. They've got solid engine mounts in this thing with a cutout so you can remove and replace the oil pan super easily. You look here, at the first look, I didn't know what this was. This is actually an ice box that you can actually dump ice in to help better cool the supercharger's intercooler. Let's talk about the rear suspension on this car. That's where all the magic happens as far as getting this thing to launch well. They went with a 4-link setup, utilizing long control arms and a swing arm, as well as a wishbone link for the lateral control arms and a larger diameter anti-roll bar. That means they gave the car more anti-squat control and just a more stable feeling when you're launching this thing. So all this power up front goes through the 3-speed transmission. It's got a super lightweight drive shaft and then goes to the live rear axle. I guess Dodge hasn't released an exact quarter-mile time yet, but I'm told it's somewhere around 7.5 seconds, which is just mind-blowing for a car from the factory. Now, it would be a crime not to fire this thing up for you guys. May as well stick the wheel on in case we launch. And then get our firing procedure here. Probably put this thing in park. And then turn on the main power, that's on. Turn on the ignition without the fuel pump. Crank the engine and watch for oil pressure in the analog gauge. Now turn on the fuel pump. Crank and start the engine. Yeah, that sounds like a race car. So now we've got to ask ourselves, do you need a car like this? The answer? No. No one needs a factory-built 7-second monster. No one needs a car like this. But do you want a car like this? Well, if the beginning of your drag race starts in the showroom and ends at the end of the quarter mile, this is the fastest way you can go about it. You want a 2021 Challenger drag pack car.